It's Africa's misfortune, if I may say so. We are not united. We don't see things the same way. Some are afraid, some are hesitant, some are there for the interests of other people. The West, there are people who grew up over there, did everything over there, and then they come and are made heads of state in Africa. So they're the ones who control all of that. And so Africa can't have its own opinion.
Excellencies.
Good evening.
Some of your critics regularly bring up a statement you made, and this statement dates back to the very beginning of your time in power, when you said that if everything was done, 3 months would be enough to move towards the end of the war. And these critics now say that 3 years later, the war is still not completely over. Mr. President, this evening, how do you respond to them?
All right, thank you very much. And thank you all for coming to this interview. It's true that's what we would have wished for, but things did not turn out as we thought. And I say, everything is being done. So there are several approaches that need to be implemented in order to achieve this goal within that time frame. But not everything was implemented as we had hoped. First, adversity. So as soon as we came to power, we had hoped that we would be allowed to work quickly and make progress. Unfortunately, some people approached us and wanted us to go along with them because their goal was not for the war to end anytime soon. I'm talking about certain foreign forces that were present on our soil. We had heated debates with diplomats from elsewhere on the matter, but no one wanted us to move toward ending this war. We understood this through the messages. If people actually came to us and told us that we had to accept them supporting the terrorists while also supporting us, it means exactly what it sounds like. It's a war being deliberately maintained. So we quickly understood and we got rid of all the forces that were present here, whether French or American forces, and we realized that the real struggle would come afterward. The second thing was also we believed that we still had at least a minimum stock of weapons and ammunition. Today, I can tell you what I found, for example, in stock. There was just one supply line for all of Burkina Faso with less than 100,000 Kalashnikov rounds. And as for weapons, we barely had 100 of them. Simple ones. It was necessary to re-equip to strengthen the army in terms of personnel, weaponry, and everything else. So, if these prerequisites were met, the 3-month objective was indeed possible. But there was nothing. We were not prepared for war, neither in terms of equipment nor in terms of manpower.
Precisely, Mr. President, as you just said, when you took power, to put it bluntly, there were more men than ammunition in the Burkinabe army. And today, where do we stand with the armament program for that army? And then, what are the signs that it is gradually gaining strength?
Very well. As I said, I can't describe the whole situation as it was. It was catastrophic. And as I said, you can investigate. There may even be soldiers in this room who were on the front lines without weapons that existed in our army. So these were situations where we thought it was just, I wouldn't say bad faith, but an incomprehensible situation. For us, the weapons were there, and yet they refused to equip them. But when we were confronted with reality very quickly, we resolved first to try to arm the personnel who were present. And that's when all hell broke loose, because many powerful countries refused to sell us weapons. So we turned to those who were willing to sell us weapons. Very quickly we equipped ourselves, we recruited the VDP, and we were able to pay for everything we needed. We developed an equipment plan for a build-up in strength. And as you can see, for the past 2 years now, the equipment has started to arrive, it's still not finished, and more keeps coming in. Maybe in a few days you'll see even more new equipment being presented, which is mainly support equipment, because first, the infantry. We had to equip them so that every man could have a weapon issued to him. That was a big challenge. We've achieved it. We keep recruiting, as you can see. Every year, we recruit between 10,000 and 15,000 men. That's a considerable effort, because when we say adversity is present, the number of terrorists increases. Because the imperialists are recruiting a lot of mercenaries who come to Burkina Faso to fight. So we have to adapt to the situation. And now we have our third phase, which is no longer about buying, but about manufacturing ourselves. And we're also working on that. So that's what building up our strength means. We need to be well equipped, but also to create a defense industry. That's very important.
In a few months or a few years, we'll have our soldiers here using weapons made in Burkina.
Of course. We have the intellectual capacity, there are resources. All it took was to look for them, and there you go. We're working on it. You'll be surprised, for sure.
Mr. President, I must ask, can we truly win this ongoing war? Are we, in fact, going to ultimately win it?
We can only win it. What else would we do? Rest assured, we're not going anywhere, and we will win this war. I told you that the threat is constantly evolving, but we are adapting. And the strength of the Burkinabe army is that it is one of the most resilient armies in the world. The pressure that Burkina Faso is under, I don't think there is any other country on earth right now facing this kind of pressure. But we are holding on, we will fight, and we are constantly adapting to the threat. And we understand where the threat comes from, how it manifests itself. That's the most important thing. And right now, I can assure you that soon we will be talking about a black albino who will appear. And you'll see. Don't ask me what that means. I think you'll understand later. The war will end, and very soon.
Precisely, to win this war, as you just said, we need weapons and we also need men, especially determined men. Determination, as you know, is the major game changer. That's what makes the difference in any war. Right now, as we speak, what exactly is the morale of our troops on the ground?
You've really gotten to the heart of the problem. Human resources, determined men. It's not just about supplying equipment. We need determined men. And if you notice, we are in the process of building a quality army. And it's not uncommon that when it's judged that a unit leader or an element has failed in their mission, they are dismissed and prosecuted. This has happened several times, and it will continue this way. If you sign up to be a soldier, you must accomplish the mission because the mission is sacred to us. And another thing is that despite the pressure, despite the challenges, the men keep fighting and are very resilient. If today you catch a Burkinabe soldier and ask him, do you want other people to come fight in your place or come help you? They will never tell you that. They would rather die. That's where you can judge their morale. They are ready, always ready, despite the situation, no matter what battle we might lose. We will always hold the ground. That's what's very important for the soldier's mindset. So morale is at its highest. People never expected to have this level of equipment, but now they do. So they're giving it their all, and I can only congratulate and thank everyone who is fighting. It's very important.
So, Mr. President, in your speech, you talk about a war that takes different forms, that evolves. We keep asking ourselves this question. We wonder afterwards who is attacking.
Burkina Faso. It's not just terrorism. It's a war to seize our resources and prevent us from developing. I once explained this in a speech, I believe. I was saying that if we manage to properly exploit our subsoil resources to process what we are extracting here, what we are producing, there will be unemployment over there on their side. It's a battle. They plunder our resources in order to survive. So it's a war for independence. We must wage this war to be fully independent, to decide our own development, our own path. So that's what it's about right now.
Mr. President, as you just said, we're talking about the security and defense of Burkina Faso. Let's talk about your personal security. You just mentioned it a moment ago. The pressure is enormous. It's huge. The danger comes from everywhere. Mr. President, just in 2025, there have been several coup attempts that were foiled. Mr. President, do you ever feel afraid?
Thank you. I think that's the only strength I have. I'm not afraid. Because I trust all of you, that's the first thing. You have to trust the people, because it's the people who entrusted us with this mission. And I trust the people, that they will understand. And that's why we don't hesitate to stand before the people, to explain the situation to them and tell them what's going on. And that helps maintain a very good relationship. That's the first thing. The second thing, as I said, is that there was a mindset that needed to be developed within our own forces. That's very important. Right now, that mindset is there and people understand why they're fighting. If you look back a few years, many officers in the field didn't know why they were fighting. But if we know why we're fighting, who we're up against, and why there's this pressure, people understand better. And that's why we immediately created the Institute, the higher military school, so that we could train our own soldiers and instill in them what we want. Remember one thing, if you let your forces be trained by other powers, they put into their heads whatever they want. They indoctrinate them as they please, and it's easier to manipulate them. Here in Burkina, right now, that's actually what bothers many imperialist powers. They can't manage to infiltrate our army. All these units that have been created, all these men who are here, no one came from elsewhere to train them. We are built on our field experience, and we trained them ourselves. I personally took part in training some of these forces at the very beginning. So that's already a second strength. And the other strength is that if you have a mission, a goal for your country, you must not be afraid. If you are afraid, you hesitate. If you hesitate, you compromise. And once compromise sets in, you're done for.